committee, that southern group going with it. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to call to order the Historic Resources Board regular meeting of Tuesday, September 5th. All rise for the flag salute. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the minutes reflect that all commissioners, with the exception of Commissioner Moore, are present. Did we hear anything from Mr. Moore?
Yes, he let me know that he would not be able to make it tonight.
Okay.
Whether he put down as an excused absence?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, do we have any public comment of items that are not on the agenda? Okay. Informal project review. Is there anybody who'd like to come forward with any informal project reviews that they would like to just conceptually let the HRB know about at this time? Okay. Number 4, action items. Is there any member of the public that would like any of these action items pulled from the agenda? Or were there any members of the commission that would like any of these items pulled?
I'd like to comment on the sign permit 4B.
Okay, so we'll hear that separately.
Okay.
Motion to approve item A, affidavit of posting of the agenda. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item B, go ahead, sir.
Okay,
I have to recuse myself.
we're talking about historical district. We're talking about a signboard or group signs. This thing looks like it's metal, and it doesn't fit with the background. And I have a hard time seeing that they're shiny surfaces against that board. I could not support this.
Okay. This is the applicant here?
Yes.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm Ramon Hill.
Did you have any comments regarding, so I had the same concern when I saw this, that I thought it was a little bit out of character for the building.
Well, I have, well, let's see, for the building. Yeah, because I've seen them like at the bank and the post office, which are more contemporary buildings. The only thing, and I thought of that when I saw it too, when I saw a picture of it. I thought, well, maybe I can add a wooden frame over it, but now that I've actually seen it, I don't think that's a solution because it's, because of the dimensions of it. You know, I don't know if there's any way to, I mean, there could be a way to, with, I don't know, paint or any way to color it, well, that would be my thought. Unless it's just a completely different product that I could come up with, I don't know.
I would think that you could take this metal and paint it to kind of look like a wood grain even. I did that on a metal product 10 or 15 years ago,
Yeah, which I'm willing to,
Okay.
to look into that. Do you remember how you did that?
Yeah, I actually do. Matt, is there any staff comment on this item other than?
No, I mean, as I stated in the staff report, the bulletin board's an allowable item. You get one that's exempt from the permit requirements, and so I didn't have much else on this because it just seemed to be allowed. So
are you saying this does not require a permit? Is that what I?
No, that's why there's no resolutions or anything attached to this. Is that it just said one. I mean, you can read in there that one is exempted from the permit requirements.
Okay.
Well, the key thing is it does not fit against that historical building, period. Any way you look at it.
Without any, even with modifications, you're saying?
I can't even imagine, you'd have to tell me what modifications you would use, because I can't think of a single modification that would put that rectangle against those shiplaps, or whatever you call the siding.
So your objection is to the shape?
The whole thing. I don't think it belongs there.
So, well, and I don't know, and maybe there is another solution, because what I want is a marquee, in essence, and of course, a lighted marquee, I would expect for the same reasons, would be completely out. So there's also bulletin boards are going to be the same thing, because the having the materials protected require that frame and something that locks. So if they're,
Well, so this does not require approval. She could do it,
but I do want to.
but yeah.
The reason I'm here is because I want it to meet approval,
Thank you.
whatever I do. To meet approval, my landlord has already looked at it. I mean, this is, of course, I'm coming to you for your feedback.
My only comment is, I don't have a problem with the size or shape of it. I just think that if you could make it kind of like that wood tone, and it's a two-step process. You put like a darker color and a lighter process. It's like a faux type of thing. But if you run the streaks through there, it looks like wood.
Can I ask, Larry, do you think we can actually just add a wood frame? Have you looked at it?
We could, but we don't need to, because it's not necessary to have a permit for that.
Well,
Okay.
this is my husband, and so he, he's a metal worker as well as a woodworker, so that's why I'm asking him about a solution.
Okay.
Matt,
Hello?
why are we here?
Because she requested because you requested that she bring this back at the last meeting. She did an informal project review, and you said, we'll waive the fees, just bring it back to us to review. So between then and now.
So technically, we have absolutely nothing to say about whatever she puts on that wall?
It depends. I mean,
This is the historical district, we have design guidelines. Does this meet the design guidelines?
there's not even anything in the design guidelines. It's just in the municipal code exempt, so.
We made a big mistake someplace.
Okay, well.
I just hate to see, that because we overlook something, we're going to have something that's going to stick out like a sore thumb. And with all due respect, that's what's going to happen. You just have a big Luna thing on the side there on a 100-year-old plus year old building, and it's just not going to fit. So that's my position.
I mean, you could. I mean, in every staff report argument, there's some basic assumptions, and one was that because of the work that they do there with teaching the arts and things like that, and the fact that during this last year they did the summer program there, that's how I classified it as under the school, institution, or public agency. But you could also say it's a for-profit business. We don't think it qualifies as a school, an institution, or public agency, and so therefore you do need a sign permit for it. I mean, it's all your interpretation of the code, and so this was just simply mine, and the fact that I thought based on their activities there, you could classify it this way. But if you guys don't agree, you're welcome to make a different finding and require that she does the sign permit. So.
But if it was a for-profit business, they could still have a bulletin board, right?
No, it has to be. This exemption is for schools, institutions, and public agencies. So.
I think it's more of a private business myself, and there's nothing wrong with that. The private business. But the key thing is the exemption was for education, which when you think of educational place, you think of schools.
Yeah.
And whether it's,
How do you define your business?
Wow. Really, what I think of it is a for-profit business, but I think of it as a community service.
Sure.
My next program is going to be an after-school program, our after-school art enrichment program. That's, it may make sense eventually to be a nonprofit. I really don't know what the future of it is, but it does matter to me that the historic preservation and aesthetics. I just don't really know what else I could use for my purpose. It's I think it's going to be important for my business, for the success of the business, but also for the public interest to be able to know what, I thought of that as a good solution because that's like what you do at hey, there are art places that have outside what their schedule is, that's, I don't know. Anyone have any other ideas what could be used?
Commissioner Friels, do you have any comments?
I understand where Ernie's coming from. And I've looked at that building for many, many, many years, working at the fire station. I just don't see how you would get around not being able to do some type of a schedule that you had, or I don't know what you would be able to do other than something like this that you can change. You can update your classes and stuff. So if it's something that doesn't have to be permitted, then really, to tell you the truth, we missed that, or it got missed somewhere down the line, and
what about another
okay with it.
location? Would it make any difference, like if it were on the door instead of on the side of the building, something like this?
I think it's the aesthetics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my concern. Ernie's, that's his concern, and from a different and much broader perspective.
It's a tough one.
I don't.
Yeah, there is. I've seen one somewhere here in town. It's
There's one at the bank.
Yeah, there's one at the bank and there's one at the post office, but those are, like I said, much more contemporary buildings.
Is there one on the church? Because churches usually utilize boards like this to advertise their services and whatnot. It wouldn't surprise me if there was one over there. I just haven't had a chance to go look.
I can look around a little bit also and see if someone has found a good solution.
there's one. It's either on the face of that building that has the clock shop on it, or it's by that little stairwell that goes up above Daisy's.
Yeah.
And it tells about the building.
Yeah.
Oh, the tenants?
Yeah, there is one there.
And then you can post stuff in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just not unheard of. It's just...
Well, either you do or you don't need our approval. I'm not sure I'm clear on that. Our feedback is, I think that aesthetically, I don't think any of us like it. Well, you didn't actually say that.
No, I have to agree with it stick out, but you are an art studio, so maybe you can make it look good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a piece of industrial, grade. I mean, it's up to you. It truly is. And I appreciate you coming and asking for feedback, but there's nothing I can tell you not to. I can't tell you no. If it's not, if we don't cover it, I can't say
But I
no.
think if the planning commission could go into the definition, what is a school, what is a place of learning, what is versus a commercial enterprise, which may do some of the same things.
Yeah.
But I think, that's what we're going to have to look at. But the bottom line is, it's the aesthetics. It's like I say, it's an umpteen-year-old building. We're the city of history. We're trying to maintain all these things.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this is going to stick out. Be above and beyond.
Yeah.
I don't know what they did in those days.
Yeah, they're pretty much one size fits all. It's not like there's a whole lot of selection when it comes to message boards. That's what they look like.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll give it more thought. I mean, I'm not just going to throw it up there. I want what I do to also look good. So I'm going through where else could it even go that would represent my business. I don't know. Okay, well, maybe we should I don't know if we can revisit it if I come up with either if I come up with something that I think looks better, or I don't know.
So what would be the action item? We table the item, or we just take no action?
I mean, you could table it and have her bring back an alternative plan next time.
You put it on the table, and when she says, Matt, tell the guys to take it off the table, put it on the agenda.
Okay. All right.
And there was a second part of this too, which we didn't talk about yet, but I wanted to inform the applicant in case you didn't read the staff report, but I looked into the paint color changes that she had proposed for the door trim and the window trim and everything, and unfortunately this falls in the same category as 18th Barrel and La Casa Rosa, where this is a historic structure. It's on the inventory, and paint changes qualifies as a major alteration. So unfortunately, unless you want to actually pay for the qualified architectural historian's report for the whole building to get that process started, which I don't think you do because that's
Right.
not cheap. I would recommend not going with this unless you want to go down that road of getting all the historical approvals from that process. And if you look back and see what 18th Barrel and La Casa Rosa went through, and if you want to put in that time and money, I'll work with you on that. But for the minimal changes you're proposing, it didn't seem like something you want to pursue.
No, and especially, I mean, that would only make sense to paint the whole building, which it does need. But of course, it's not my building.
It's a landlord issue.
Okay, well.
So we'll table this item, I think, and if you wish to bring it back, please do so.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
okay, I'll see what I can do.
I'll poke around and see what I can find too. Just
Thank you.
Okay, are there any comments from members of the board?
We need to get a definition on that, clarity on message boards and schools and businesses. That I think is critical. Because, I mean, if you truly say you don't need anything from us, you'd have a 2x3 aluminum framing out there against this building.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah. I don't know if this falls under the Historic Resource Board or, Matt, have we had any complaints about music at the 18th Barrel?
no.
Cool. It's really strange. When you're on that patio, the music doesn't appear to be very loud, but as soon as you get out in the street, you can hear it in the street. I don't know if they're shade nets or whatever kind of throw it. You can hear it. I don't say it's not significantly louder, but it's louder than when you're right next to it. It's kind of strange, but as long as we're not getting complaints, that's awesome.
I go to Mass at 5 o'clock at the mission on Saturdays. I hear them want to come out, but I don't hear them in the church or even in the churchyard, or
Perfect.
haven't yet.
Awesome.
We'll start in board member comments and joint comments
What?
on anything.
For HRB.
General.
For HRB. Okay, Matt, do you have any comments?
No?
Okay. Motion to adjourn the,
Move to adjourn.
all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
There is one comment, what's concerned about that there was some digging out on
Okay.
and that, I think it's industrial zone that John got called to.
That I got called?
No,
Her John.
John
Oh.
Freeman, Councilperson Freeman got called to go investigate and whether it's a sensitive archaeological area that needs to have some sort of monitoring.
Where is this?
So on the other side of the Mission Vineyard Road.
San Juan Hollister Road.
You know anything about this?
It's the seismic testing that the property owner is doing out there to see where on their parcel they can build. They didn't need any permits or anything from us, so it didn't come before anybody. And it's land that was previously used for agricultural production, so it's been pretty well disturbed. What?
Is it on?
I can hear it echoing around in here.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So yeah, I found out about that this morning, but I mean, we've talked to those folks before, and it did look larger than what I would think they would need for seismic testing, but yeah.
How deep are they going?
It didn't look that. I just looked at Councilmember Freeman's pictures, and it didn't look more than 5 feet in terms of the long swath.
Yeah.
They may have gone deeper at certain points, but I think they were trying to find the location of the fault line going through there. So
PG&E dug that whole area 4 years ago to put in a new pipeline.
Those records should be available to the
Yeah.
developer.
Okay,
That's out, that's it.
okay. So we had a motion to adjourn. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we will now I'm sorry, did I miss something, Trish?
No, it's
Undo
checking
plans
the time,
and
this
such.
is not accurate.
Oh, 6:19.
Well, why not?
Why do we have two?
To make sure one's accurate.
That's Looks like it should be in somebody's kitchen, a little tiny clock.
Okay,
You can barely see it.
okay, we'll dispense with the roll call. Is there any public comment on items that are not on the agenda? Okay, see none. Are there any informal project reviews? So we had an email from the folks at what's the acronym for the folks from the F1?
WY2M.
Yeah. Here a few weeks ago asking what the next steps were in moving forward. And they sent us another email asking that same question today. So Matt and I discussed this a couple of weeks ago, and I think what we agreed to do is that you would just send them that email as to what the next steps would be. Is that what we agreed?
I don't remember that, but I could.
Okay. So essentially, Matt researched that entire process. How, should they wish to move forward, how that would take place. At the time, based on the consensus of, what had been said here and in other public meetings, I didn't feel that there was much of an opportunity for us to sit down with them and say, if you want to do this project, these are the things that you would need to achieve. So Matt has that process outlined in an email that was sent to us by, what is his name again?
Tavin. Kinnison Brown.
From the county. And so anyway, that's what I think we should do, is just respond to him and say, these would be the official next steps should you decide to pursue this. In those steps, it actually calls out for him to engage the city of San Juan Bautista at several levels, including a memorandum of understanding and what have you, should he get that far. Okay.
And it would actually start with something like that,
Yeah.
and that would be the council entering into that with the county. And the question is whether the council would even want to take that first
Right.
step. So I have to talk to the council and the county about that.
But anyway, I think that's the best step, is just to send them that email, Matt.
Okay.
And if you want that to come from me, that's fine. You can draft it. But I think that email that you had from the gentleman in the county was pretty informative.
Okay.
Okay.
Quick question. I'm just kind of I'm jumping ahead, but would the footprint be annexed into the city?
That's why it would
Yes.
start with that level, determining who the lead
Yes, it
agency would be, and
would. If
whether
we're supplying
we were
water, it
even
would.
interested in pursuing that, because that would involve, if we were to embark on that, we would want to annex that to get the benefits. So, but there's a lot of issues involved that would have to be tackled. That would be interagency, and there's just issues about the fact that they're in a different water zone than us, and there's lots of large questions that would have to be tackled right up front.
Has there been any precedence where a piece of municipal property went back to the county? Has a that you know of, has a city ever relinquished 3 acres or whatever it is? I mean, I'm just curious.
It could happen. I mean, there's a process through the LAFCO for that.
Yeah,
I mean,
LAFCO
it could
probably
happen.
laugh at us.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine
I can't
that
think of it
because there's
happening,
too
but-
much money involved here.
Yeah.
I mean, it could happen if the city couldn't provide services to the area, and then they took it, they wanted to leave the city and go to the county.
Yeah. That's where we're fortunate, is a chunk of this ranch is in the city, and then we're also it's in our sphere of influence too, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So essentially, by that memorandum of understanding, effectively the city would become the lead agency.
Okay. Thank you.
Or vice versa. I mean, it's a negotiable item, and it might be that the majority of it's in the county, so the county wants to, be the lead agency, and it's kind of an expense to be the lead agency, and so, I mean, you might want to put that on the county and, have control through other methods.
Is this on our agenda with this?
Right, it's
Yeah, I
not,
was
so I was
wondering
just going to
where
say the
this
same
was-
thing, that
Well,
we're kind of
it's
on the
under,
agenda.
it's in the informal project review, so they came to us with informal
Yes,
project
no, I'm
review, so I
talking-
received that correspondence relative to such.
Okay. But what I was wondering is if it's on that agenda where we're going
They
to
have
have
not
the joint.
put in a formal application, so it's not on the agenda.
Oh,
It's not in the queue.
Yeah.
They never have.
Yeah,
The only
they never
reason it's
have.
on your agenda is because I put it on there.
They appeared here once, didn't appear another time, so. Okay, item 4, consent items. Is there any member of the public or the commission that would like to pull any of the items for the consent agenda?
There apparently being no objection, I move that the consent agenda be approved.
All those in, a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay,
I think just because, surveying our huge crowd here, I know.
yeah, that's why.
The statue of,
I was
if you
just
could move her up
thinking
ahead
if
of the
we-
public
Why don't we
hearing.
do that?
thank you.
So let's move forward as a courtesy
To 6B?
to Vina to item 6A.
6A.
6A, okay. So,
So the statuas, Vina and Mike, are going to be opening Mission Hardware in the back of the Dante Baines large red barn building there at 4th and San Jose?
San Jose.
I believe that's the side street. In the back part of the lot there, it's actually not in the large building itself. There's sort of a shed area on the back, and that's what they're going to be, where they're going to be locating the hardware. And they wanted to, so they recently got their business license, and now they wanted to get a sign permit for putting up a sign on the building and a sign on the fence to advertise their new business. So,
The whole building says for rent lease, so do you have your lease already?
Yes, we do.
Then they haven't taken down the, for renters
well,
sale of.
they're only
It's
renting
on
a
the
small area.
backside. It's on the
It's like
rear.
their sub-
You know, I would like to see a floor plan to see what we're getting into, just so we know how much of it's where. I mean, I thought they were getting the building, which sounded good, and all of a sudden I find out we're getting a back half. And I think whenever we have these kind of projects that multiple tenants, that we should have a floor plan to know how much we're getting.
We're not approving any portion of a building permit or anything, we're just approving a sign permit.
But my thought would have been where? And by knowing, seeing a floor
I
plan.
mean, where's the sign gonna go?
Well, that too, and then what's the sign for, you know? The back half of the building, scratch out what wasn't going to be used. That's me.
Okay. So, did you have additional staff report regarding?
yeah. So Commissioner Franco brings up a good point about the other signs on the building. So when this comes to planning commission, or comes to the planning staff, we're the one charged with determining just how much space is allowable for their signs. So I actually went out there with my tape measure and measured all of the existing signs on the building. And these would actually put it over the limit for the whole building. So if you read the staff report there, they would actually have to remove 1 or 2 of the existing signs in order to have these, or at least the larger one, be allowed. So we're going to have to work with the applicant and the landlord on that. If you do approve the signs, they could either take down that one older antique sign on the long side of the building on San Jose Street, or the large for lease sign, because I think that one is 40 square feet just on its own. Either of those would satisfy it. And then there's another small one that could be done in addition to another small one. So
All the signage is on the back side of the building, right?
no, there's 2. There's the large for lease on the front. There's a small
No, I mean, I'm sorry, the
construction
ones that she's
advertisement.
applying.
The ones she's applying for, there's a one large one on the back side of the building and one on the fence.
Okay, front and back, I don't know, what street does it face?
That's the question. The front of their business faces 4th Street.
Okay.
Yeah. The front of the building itself with the lions or whatever out front faces 3rd Street. So
So you're looking.
Right across from-
You're on 4th Street, looking at the back of the building.
Las Puertas.
I understand
it's a
technically
building
it's
that basically
San Jose
spans
Street.
the whole block. So.
Now you can see what I'm talking about.
Technically, I know it's on the same building, but I mean, it's almost, like, because it's on the back side, I mean, there's nothing else there.
And I believe the restrooms are the only things inside the building, the larger building, that this establishment would utilize in terms of the larger building. So, and then the landlord has been talking with us about doing a larger site and design review for the whole property, because what they would like to do eventually is have it be divvied up into several components, where some smaller offices that would have side street access on San Jose, but they need ramps and handicap access and curb and gutter, and there's some other things that would be involved in that project, and so that's a larger, more expensive project that he's going to come back with later.
So use permit is not needed for this?
No, there's actually no building permit for this. They're just doing minor improvements inside there.
What kind of stuff are you going to, at the hardware store, what kind of stuff are you going to sell?
Just basic hardware, nails, plumbing fixtures, light electrical fixture or electrical wire.
I mean, I support the idea, because I've had to go to Hollister to get a little box of nails.
Yes.
So this would help a lot.
They have some basic wood products as well out under the, so if you're looking at it from the 4th Street side towards the building, there's two covered areas, and the one on the right, I believe they said where they're going to have some basic lumber supplies as well.
It's a little covered area where there would be some lumber available.
And then eventually all of those storage containers on the left-hand side there and that covered area would be removed, and they'd be turned into parking or something else for the larger building as part of the larger overhaul of the site. So.
Okay, did you have anything else, Bina, you want to add?
No, that's it.
What about your assistant?
Your assistant, yes. Madison.
Now, you understand, we're being televised here. So this is a chance for free advertising. So tell us how we should approve it.
Well, yes, tell us
Because it
what.
will help the community. They do not have to travel out of the town to, if they need the basic necessities for their establishment or for their home.
And what is your business going to be called?
Mission Hardware.
What would the resolution number be?
It is 24.
Any other good things we can say?
Anybody else have any comment, any public comment?
Well, I like the idea because it's getting hard to travel even to Hollister to go get hardware. And Gilroy, it's like, okay, never mind.
You can get there, but it can take you twice as long to get back. No, this has been a long needed use in this town.
Yes.
And I'm just hoping that they will be a catalyst to bring somebody else in who say, hey, they're here, I could do this, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, so to work
And I hope
out
they have some
the
gardening
energy
stuff
from each
too.
other.
Okay, so I'm going to close comments at this level, and there was no public comment that I saw. So I look for a motion to approve Resolution 2017-24, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista approving the sign permit application for Mission Hardware at 507 3rd Street. The applicants Mike and Vina Statula.
I so move.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, for staff,
Good night.
we
Good.
approve this thing. Would you get us a floor plan of that building?
Yeah, I have it in my folder on my desk. So
Okay, but if you get us one, because like I said, we talked enough about it, which means something else is going to happen in there. I would just like to be aware of what's
gonna
out
go-
there.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big, I mean, it's a bigger project than I think that
Yeah, but see, that's what I
that the
mean.
owner thinks it's going to be, because
Well, that's precisely why it didn't happen when they got the temporary use of land permit for running events there for 6 months, and that ends in October. And I don't believe they're going to go for a permit. That was sort of a little test run, and I don't believe they're going to try to do it after that. So hopefully at that point maybe is when they'll come and talk to us about the next round of improvements that we've discussed.
Because tell them, you know, curb gutter and sidewalk is long overdue for that corner.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so while we're on...
If you're not thinking about it, don't apply.
Yeah.
When we're on item 6, item B, we've already dealt with, right?
6B.
That's the 1 Polk Street.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So, okay, item 5A, public hearing, consider ordinance banning recreational marijuana sales, cultivation, and delivery. Staff report.
Okay, I'm going to try to make the staff report brief. I think you know that we've been involved with the marijuana issue at the city council level, and there was a study session, and it was pretty much a response to the Adult Use of Marijuana Act, which was passed by the voters almost a year ago. And the licensing is going to come online early next year. And so that would require us to have some kind of regulation in place in order to either regulate adult use of marijuana or to ban it. And the city council had a study session, and they've had several meetings where they discussed the issue, and they've agreed to hire a consultant to look at having some kind of marijuana use in the city of San Juan Bautista. But until then, they recognize that if there's not something in place, then it wouldn't make any use if they tried to regulate it, because it would be allowed and the state would start issuing licenses for adult use of marijuana. So the city council looked at the ban you have before you today and wanted it to include the ban on adult use sales, adult use cultivation beyond what's allowed by the state law, which is 6 plants in a discrete site inside the property. And they also wanted to include delivery at this point. And once again, the consultant's going to be working to possibly allow any or all of those things, but we're going to need a scheme in place that the city's going to make money to cover its staff costs and try to make something to give back to the community on that. So in the meantime, the city council wanted you to look at the ordinance that's attached as the first stage to enacting a ban. They wanted you to look at the environmental review. The environmental review is an exemption because there's no chance that this ban is going to have an impact on the environment. And you are supposed to look at this specifically for the land use related issues, which is, some cities are not starting at the planning commission with this, but it's the safest to do it that way because your jurisdiction is land use. So you're primarily concerned with any land use impacts. And with that stated, I'd be happy to answer any questions about this.
Okay.
So I just had an observation. I don't see, to be quite frank with you, what impact, if any, banning would have on land use issues. I guess I'm puzzled as to why the planning commission would have to take action on this, but I heard what you said, but I'm puzzled.
So, cities throughout the states have been doing it both ways. They've either been pushing them through the city councils, and some people have said that's illegal. So if I can spend 15 minutes with you guys and get rid of that potential illegality that somebody then is going to try to get their license and say our ordinance was illegal, then I just want to take that off the table. So I think there's land use is that
We don't put it in the historic section or something?
Right, the ban. Well, the ban. Whether it would. Yeah, it's more the land uses if we were allowing uses than
It's sort of hypothetical is what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, if there was an ordinance to allow sales, distribution, and transportation, then definitely I could see that being a land use issue.
So you're not allowing delivery.
Not allowing, yeah.
I agree. I just
it's control of the use of the land. But
okay, so is there any public comment on this item? Any additional commissioners' comments? So is this, what's the?
I like the fact that the council's addressing this. They're getting some help with it, and my biggest concern is the transportation, and of course in the long run affecting the historic district. I wouldn't want to see anything compromise our standing in on the National Registry, because this is still a controlled substance on the federal level. So I'm concerned about transport and then it being in town, don't want the feds to cut us off, so to speak. Not they would pick on, well, you never know, but not that they would pick on San Juan, but stranger things would happen.
Okay.
San Benito County is an agricultural county. And so if these guys could just pick a big lot and start growing it and say, hey, there's nothing that says I can't do it. You're an ag county. So basically we need to control what they can do on the land, which we have the full power, the police power of the city to do this. So I have no problem with regulating. If they're, whatever they're entitled to, so give it to them. But until they get everything organized at the council level, let's call it an interim ordinance, for lack of a better word.
How do we Now, what do we do?
So we review this ordinance that the city attorney has put together for the council based on whatever they want. Unless we find something wrong that or want to add to it, I'd say let's go with it, because as the time with state law changes, well, we'd have to change with it. But until then, you don't want to be caught like just now. Are signboards regulated or not regulated? Can they just stick aluminum signs on a historical building? If you have no regulation, there's no order. You do what you want. And so we don't want that to happen. So I support having an ordinance that holds things until the council does what the final
Until they
word
make
is.
up their mind, yes.
And then we work with that.
And give us some direction.
And while I'm at it, on the second page of the ordinance, the third line up from the bottom, starting with residence that is fully enclosed and secure, should that say and?
And instead of an.
I
So instead of a D on it.
When they go after ordinances, they pick nits, so I'd rather pick the nits here
Yeah,
and send the
that's
full
true.
document
That's
upstairs.
true.
Oh, thank you.
That's a typo.
See, I did read this thing.
So did I, but my spelling's terrible, so I read right through it, thinking nothing else.
Sister
Not that
David,
I'm saying the spelling was terrible here, I'm just saying I'm bad at it. So
Sister David would be proud of me.
I understand.
I had a good English teacher. So yeah, and another thing too, on the top there, third page, 514.6-040. What's that A for in parentheses on the second line? I was looking for a B.
You're right.
Shouldn't be an A.
No, you only put an A if there's going to be if you're going to have a B.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's just a straight
Good
paragraph.
find.
And except those two comments, I have no problem with it.
So I would look for a motion that, actually I'll just read this section here, that the planning commission has determined that it's in the best interest of the city of San Juan Bautista, its citizens and its visitors, that marijuana dispensaries should be prohibited within the city until such time as the matter can be studied and can be determined whether marijuana-related uses are permissible within the city, and makes the recommendation to the city council to adopt the ordinance set forth. With
Okay.
specific note that we viewed the environmental
Exemptions.
sections of the ordinance.
Secret requirements, yeah. What we don't have here is a resolution for the planning commission.
You do.
No.
Oh, it's,
We have an ordinance.
Yeah, I don't think that made it to us.
Yes, all we need is a resolution saying, hey, we've reviewed this and we're sending it up to you guys.
so, yeah, you're right. It would be a resolution to pass the ordinance, so it's,
Can I just?
yes, you can just announce it.
Okay.
We can just
Yeah,
write
let's
this
just
on
tell
the
it,
top, 'cause
let's
it
just
should
say what we want to
resolution.
say. And I'd say, okay, staff prepare a draft
So-
resolution,
Yeah, so just what I
sending it
said,
to the council.
and I'll add to that and adopt resolution number.
25. Excuse me, 25.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right, did everybody follow that?
I
Yep.
so move.
All right, second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Yeah, I didn't want to wait too long on this thing because there's a lot of people out there who want to do something, and I don't want them to be hanging wondering what the city's going to do. And so
Yeah.
the faster we get this thing online, the faster the council can work with it.
Okay.
Well, and it has to have 2 readings in place before January 1st also, which is why it was very important to move it at possibly this meeting or the next meeting, or else we wouldn't make that deadline, so.
That's the only reason I
Yeah.
didn't push for a resolution tonight, a written one.
Thank you.
No, but I agree. And if the council wanted to do a special meeting, to have for the second reading, it'd be in everybody's interest too.
Well, moving it now, they'll have ample time. They'll actually have an extra month, because we can do October, November as the 2 readings, so.
Okay.
October, November, then 30 days after that for it to pass.
Right.
So-
Okay, so we'll move now to,
Was there any, we had public
I
comment.
don't have a comment, I just have a question, so.
Would you come to the mic?
Did we already?
I didn't quite understand, so you're gonna do a resolution on this at the next meeting?
No, we just did
I
it.
just did it.
The staff will draft it up for his signature to send it to the council. That just gives us a paper trail.
So basically, it's just writing resolution 25 on the top of where it says Exhibit A. Because the whole language of it is in the form of a resolution.
Okay, so
It just doesn't say resolution 25
okay,
at the
it's in
top
your
of it.
In your paperwork, not on the agenda.
No, where it's at Exhibit A.
Right.
It says on the staff report, review the draft ordinance.
Right, it's not on the
Including environmental
agenda.
review, make recommendation to the city council.
Okay, you have it, but it's not here.
No, it's
That's-
5A.
That's why I didn't understand it, okay? It
No, it's-
doesn't say anything about resolution here, and you guys are talking about it, but you have it there. I get it now.
No,
Well,
we don't
the
have it
action-
there.
The action item was consider an ordinance banning recreational marijuana sales, cultivation, and delivery.
So how does the resolution come into play?
So if you're concerned about it, they can make a minute order, which they can do instead of a resolution. So if you're concerned it doesn't say resolution here, they're just making a recommendation to the city council, they can call it a minute order.
I see.
It's the same thing. They have the authority. Resolution's more formal, but it is here on the agenda.
So essentially, that's what I did initially. And then Commissioner Franco brought up, well, shouldn't there be a resolution? So we did both.
Okay,
We want to have a paper trail so that, what did you do? This is what we did.
okay,
Like you said, it's the same thing, just putting our name on the top of this thing will do it.
okay.
Okay, so let's move to item 5B, which is well number 5, and then there's another discussion about well number 6. So relative to both of those, really, can you just kind of explain the process and why we're doing this? I mean, to me, it seemed like what we were doing is just reviewing instead of there being an EIR and what have you, we were adopting some other process, is that correct? Or?
Yeah, it's a categorical exemption under CEQA, actually two different ones, one for existing facilities and one for renovation, I have to read in here, replacement or reconstruction. Basically, this is just, it's part of the requirements from the State Water Resource Control Board regarding the 2 wells that we're trying to bring into our system, one that's an existing well and one that's a replacement well. We've been working on these for quite a while, and we're getting close to the point now where we're going to be submitting the paperwork to the State Water Resource Control Board Division of Drinking Water, and we want to make sure we cross all our T's and dot all our I's, and part of that is making sure that that CEQA has been complied with. So I actually worked with Lori Lyons at the State Water Resource Control Board, and we had a few different ideas in mind of things that we could possibly use as either statutory or categorical exemptions. I went through the list with her and found 2 that fit these projects very well. And so I ended up moving forward with those and not the others, and the result is what you have in front of you here today. I know Commissioner Friels had some concerns about the initial studies. I asked Ms. Small, the city attorney, about this a couple minutes ago, and we don't really need the initial study. The initial study is more included so that you guys can see how we thought about the project in terms of potential environmental impacts, and that's why it just says no the whole way through it, but it also has explanations of why no. And I think just previously, Roger and myself like to give the public a reason why there aren't those impacts, even if we're going to do an exemption. So I think if the commission did have a problem with those, I don't think you have to adopt the initial studies, just the exemptions. So.
Right. And that's, I think, I just feel like Matt's trying to be more transparent. There's been a lot of call for, we don't want staff just to do an initial study and slide it in the record or not do it, and just, call for a categorical exemption. So I just feel like Matt's kind of bending over backward to be transparent to the public and to the Planning Commission.
We appreciate that.
Because he can go right to the book and say, look, it's exempt, period.
Right.
But I think the thought process, for new commissioners
It's helpful.
especially, the thought process, because this is an easy one. Wait till you start getting some complicated ones. You want to be in the track for that thought process,
Yes.
so that every little thing is accounted for. The explanations he put in here I thought were good, because somebody who really wasn't aware that something like this would say, why? And all of a sudden the discussion is right there.
Yes. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. So relative to 5B, do you have any more staff report, additional staff report?
I mean, I could tell you a little bit more about the projects if you want, but not in terms of just what you're approving tonight. So if you want a status update, I can tell you that well number 5 is the one that the city's drilling. We've already drilled the final borehole for that well. We've done the water quality tests. We've done the pump capacity tests, passed both of those. And so Hydrometrics is putting together the report on that now. Well 6 is the existing well, adjacent to the 18-acre parcel we were talking about earlier on the south side of San Juan Hollister Road. And that's one that we've also done the water quality tests on and done the pump capacity tests on. We did those in the last 2 weeks consecutively. It was an 8-hour pump test. The one on well number 5 was run for 8 hours at 425 gallons a minute. The one on well 6 was run for 8 hours at 625 gallons a minute, and both of them recovered in an appropriate amount of time to demonstrate that they could be used productively as wells in our water system. So now it's just putting together, getting that report from Hydrometrics. There's some issue with retrieving the data logger out of well number 6 that I'm working with them on. And then once we get that report and we get the environmental documents approved, that's pretty much it, what we need to send off to the State Water Resource Control Board and hopefully get a good turnaround time so we can get these wells into our system and stop using them with high nitrates. So.
Okay. And for members of the public, might be aware, either on TV or here, the new well, can you describe to them where that is?
It's on the same site as well number 2, and that's the site in between the mobile home park and the Hacienda de Leal. It's the site where the proposed copperleaf development is going to be going in, and well number 2 is the one with high nitrates that we've had issues with several times over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. So that well is actually going to be removed or decommissioned, and then well number 5 is its replacement on the same site.
Okay.
Okay.
Question. Public?
Yeah, let's open up public comment real quickly. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none.
Okay, yeah, there being no public comments and no commissioner comments, I move that the...
Oh, I have standby. Oh, can both of these wells run simultaneous? Can they run at the same time?
6 and 5?
Yeah.
That's part of the study that we were getting from Hydrometrics, is to see whether one influenced the other. They're actually on different sides of the San Andreas Fault, so I believe, just from what I heard verbally from them, that they didn't notice any effect when they were doing one on the other because they were monitoring it at the same time. But that'll be reflected in the report that we get from Hydrometrics. So.
And they're both running on the same main? They'll both be on the same main? And that's, the size of the main, that's going to be...
It's a 12-inch that runs down that road, and I believe it's going to be a 6-inch coming out of well number 5 to an 8-inch into the 12, and there's going to be a bypass put in so that we can go down to where the future pellet plant's going to be, and then we'll circle back from there.
Okay.
Good.
And where's well 6 at then?
Well 6 is it's right at the 2 big purple parcels below San Juan Hollister Road. You can't really see the line from here, but it's on the upper left corner of the right parcel. Yeah, right about where your pen was. Other corner.
Left, a little more left.
No, in the middle. So go to the middle.
Where the purple and orange come together?
You see the blue corner of that square? It's the other corner.
Go to your left.
You're going to the other parcel.
The lot corner, right there.
Right there. Yeah, right there.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was wondering. Thank you.
There you go.
It's on the Coke farm.
Sorry, that's 2 parcels, so you kept going to the other side.
I didn't see the middle line there.
That's what I'm saying. It's hard to see the line from here.
Thank you.
It's because of all those flood zone lines that are...
Thank
So
you.
that's significant. I mean, we're getting, over 1,000 gallons a minute.
So is this enough redundancy?
Yeah, for the state.
With the 2.3 million gallon tank on the hill, our water flow is going to be
great.
pretty amazing. It was, before all this happened, it was enough to drop us from an ISO rating of 6 to 5. This is which is huge. At the time when that happened, there was only something like 12% of the cities, this is just off the top of my head, in the country that can pull off a 5. So we did pretty good with what water supply we had because of that tank, and then the upgrades, and then 12-inch is huge.
And we'll be able to remove our water softeners pretty soon.
That's a whole other
project.
That pellet plant. We
I was going to ask.
pay for that pellet plant, and hopefully somebody gives us a lot of money somewhere down the line.
Part of this, so that will end up coming before you guys too. When we acquire well number 6, we're going to do a lot line adjustment, and that blue corner is going to shift over to the other corner where the existing well is, and we're going to try to do basically a swap with the property owner, where well number 3 will be his, and we take over well number 6.
So,
And there will be more details than that.
well number 3?
But you guys will be involved in that lot line adjustment, so you'll get to see, and the space that's involved in the blue square now will still be on the other, that was designated for the pellet plant, will still exist at the new location as well. So.
Okay. Okay.
No public comments?
There was no public comment.
Okay. I move that, what resolution number?
26?
I move that Commission adopt a resolution number 2017-26, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista making a determination for a categorical exemption for capital improvement project domestic water well number 5, CIP 46-802.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Second.
Oh, I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay.
Good enough.
All right. Item 5C, well number 6. Additional staff report.
Did you guys want to do the resolution for the initial study or no? Just because there was one in there, I figured I'd ask.
Oh, I thought it was in there.
It's actually after, for some reason, it's after the initial study.
Oh, okay,
That makes
sorry
sense.
about that.
So the first one was for the categorical exemption. The second one's for the initial study. If you want that to be
Okay.
included as part of it. So.
Sure.
Okay.
So
If
we're
you
going
just
to
flip to the very
adopt
back of the initial study, it's the next page.
So I'd make a motion to adopt resolution 2017-26.
27.
27, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista adopting an initial study for capital improvement project domestic water well number 5, CIP 46-802. Was that's not the same one we just read?
No, because this is for the initial study. The last one's for the categorical
Okay.
exemption.
I second it.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Now we can do it.
Okay, sorry, Matt. So number C, I believe we're at.
5C.
So I basically told you about both wells under the
Yeah.
last item. So this is just well number 6. So.
Okay, any public comment on the issue? Any commissioner comments?
I'm impressed that we scored a well that puts out that much water. I mean, I would have never expected that much water coming out of a ag pump type well, but that just goes to show you we've got some good water. I mean, we have plenty of water down there. It's just some of it's bad. And Matt and I talked about this earlier. I've been here my whole life, and the water's been terrible my whole life. But I used to drink out of a garden hose when I was a kid.
And you're still here?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, and I've never passed a kidney stone or anything like that. But it was brutal. You know, there were times it was real brutal on our plumbing. They would last months instead of years. Yeah. And it seems like there was a while there we'd go through a water heater every year. You know, but
Now it's only
Take out stuff.
every 3 years. Yeah. So I'm happy with the flow on this. I'm just, the only like I said before, my only concern is nobody really signed off on all these on the checklist. Hope that doesn't bite us in the butt in the long run, but what you're saying is that we don't really need to hear it, so.
What do you mean sign off?
Well, if you look at
There's no signature.
there's no signature down here
Well,
on
this is our draft.
this. There's no signature, Bernie, at all. I've already had this discussion with Matt.
Do we need to have those things signed at all?
That was my concern.
Well, like I said, he could go to the
Just
book
under
and
this
say,
section.
okay, I've got a project here,
You
and
can, I mean, you.
it says right here,
Yeah.
exempt
Yeah.
from CEQA.
Yeah.
And
That's where I was
And
getting.
I can sign these prior
Yeah.
to when Chairman Hopper signs it. So.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at, just to make sure we're crossing the Ts and dotting the Is, you know, because we're under the the state's got us under the microscope right now, so.
I have to agree with you.
Let's do it right.
Yeah, caught something you didn't.
Okay,
Look at that,
Team City here.
You were pretty happy about this, so do you want to make a motion?
You
Do
make
I have to
both.
read the entire,
Yes.
Just
You
the
better
title.
read.
where is it?
The old days, you read the whole thing, but
This one right here, the resolution? Or do we do the,
This one right here.
there's two resolutions
Here, this one.
beginning.
That's
Is it categorical exemption? Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's the first one.
okay, I move that we pass the resolution.
Adopt.
Adopt the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista making a determination for a categorical exemption for capital improvement project domestic water well number 6, CIP 46-801.
Is that 28?
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
We can do 29 too.
Yeah, you can do 29.
No, I did one of the other ones.
Apparently I'm supposed to have
Oh,
glasses
so am I
now. and
supposed to have
I'm
a turn now?
So I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2017-29, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista adopting the initial study for capital improvement project domestic water well number 6, CIP 46-801.
I second it.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. What does CIP mean?
Capital Improvement Project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, acronym.
And that's just so you know, that number designates a budget section, so,
Like a line item.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, we did 6A, 6B, move on. Item 7, so there should be a meeting next month, a joint meeting. I have not heard back on confirmation of a date. It would be here in the city of San Juan Bautista. We think the Veterans Hall is the most likely location for that, due to at least the size of the meeting that we had last.
How many people showed up roughly?
Oh,
In the audience?
Well, when is the church supposed to have the community center ready?
well, the problem with the community center is the acoustics.
I know, but they're supposed to fix that.
Oh, I
That's part of their deal.
don't know.
That just came to the city council last meeting, and I haven't had a chance to talk to the city attorney about her attempts to talk with the Diocese of Monterey, and I'm not sure where that
Where that
stands at this
project
point,
is, okay.
and that wouldn't come into effect until next April to November anyway, so that definitely wouldn't be in time for this meeting.
Okay.
In terms of the improvements.
That's
if
what I
there
was
are any.
wondering. I was wondering.
So we need to confirm that date. We do have a list of items that at least we've proposed. So there's really, I guess, no update there. Item 8. General discussion items or comments by the planning commissioners, anything?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Harvey's lockup was finally forced a few years ago to put in a fire suppression system.
Mm-hmm.
That system is inoperable right now.
After all we went through? I mean, we went through a lot.
Yeah, it's not charged.
It's been checked.
And as far as even the well, you might want to help me with this, the bell, the gong with
Yeah.
the
audible.
audible and the telecommunication, the wires to nowhere, and the stems are not, I mean, if the stems aren't it's closed, the system's closed.
Okay.
That's a massive building
Yes,
full of stuff.
and it's right next to me.
So I have, I'm sorry. So NFPA 72 requires that they have an annual inspection of that system. So I would think, Matt, that you could ask them to produce that record of inspection.
Okay.
And more formally, what did you base it? Those are your direct observations?
Yeah.
Based on your expertise?
Yeah, I took photos
It
of
goes
it.
farther than that.
Yeah.
We, at the time that we did former, a couple years ago, we started looking at permit conditions. The conditions of a permit carry the law
Yep.
because it's from an ordinance. Okay, and Harvey's had been there for a few years, had not complied with any of his conditions.
Right.
So the planning commission, we got the manager to send them some letters, and they were very slow about doing it. Finally, he did a bunch of stuff. But my feeling was, if they won't comply,
Yep.
then we just go for revocation.
Let's see if I can.
I have no problem recommending the council revoke permits.
I'm in concurrence with you. So let's take this one step at a time. So,
I'm seeing if
Matt,
I,
not telling you how to do your job, but I would suggest to you that you ask them to provide that certificate of inspection.
And what was the inspection number or
So
name?
it's a provision of NFPA 72 as adopted by the state of California. as its fire code. And so they would need to provide you with that, and then I would say, because they're, based on the comment here, by somebody that does have expertise in that area, that as a matter of public safety, perhaps, that you should direct the fire department to go out and do a inspection of the premises.
I'm seeing if I can find, if I save the
The
photo.
other thing, Matt, I'd like to suggest that Roger had a whole sheet there of all the different conditions, and he was checking them off as he went, and you can start with that to see what hasn't been done.
So I actually had, and it's interesting you brought that, somebody else came to me, a previous planning commissioner that was involved in the approval of that, and said, and I think I asked you about this, that there was a concern that some sidewalks had not been completed on the, I guess what would be the back side and the side side. So maybe just pull out all those
Conditions of approval.
I know I've seen it before, but
I think he was talking about the old curve on that.
What Commissioner Fields is talking about is a huge public safety issue. So
Yes.
thank you for that bringing.
Yeah, that was one of our biggest stumbling blocks when it came to the ISO testing we did 15, probably 20 years ago, is because the water system out there was terrible. So I don't think I saved the photo, but I know what I see, so just thought I'd bring that
And
up.
what is the permit that those were conditions on?
The use permit to allow Harvey's lockup.
So conditional use permit, is that what it was? Okay.
Because I know that place was,
It used to be just.
it was,
storage.
everything was,
Okay.
everything was moved in and they built it, and the suppression system came after,
Much later.
much later.
And there was
Yeah.
somebody living up there, and they didn't have the barriers or the protection from the smoke and the fire and everything, so.
Isn't on the agenda, so you can give staff instructions.
Yeah.
Probably
Oh,
Yeah.
talk about, sorry.
not much more to talk about it.
Thank you. Okay, so Community Development Director comments.
I would just say,
Help.
well, I would just point out that it's only me right now. Well, and Trish and Carmen in the front office here. So
You are
know,
acting city manager?
I am the interim city manager currently, and everything else other than Trish and Carmen. And
Everybody
so
has
I appreciate your
tail backs.
patience, because and I'll do my best to start moving forward with this. We did actually put a hold on all building permits right now because we have no one to do building inspections currently. So that's one thing that's at least off our plate for the moment until we hire a contract building inspector. Also don't have a city engineer or a full-time city manager. So, there's a lot of projects that we're working on, in particular me, and some very high priority projects such as the water system, our new wells, we have some wastewater treatment things going on. So I just appreciate your patience. If we happen to have a light agenda or two here, I apologize, but there are lots of things I'm going to be working on. So,
Okay.
No complaints here.
No.
Do you have any city manager comments, or was those all inclusive?
that was all inclusive.
All right.
City attorney?
Okay.
Thanks for putting together all that stuff on the
Yeah.
marijuana. So, I mean, it's becoming kind of an albatross statewide.
Did you want to
Appreciate
make any comments of your own? No?
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
it. Second?
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Hey, I like short
There's
meetings.
a bunch of time in your life back.
I like short meetings.